Welcome back, everybody, to another day of the show. I hope you're doing absolutely wonderful. So much to get into. I'm going to tell you about the trip that we're going to be jetting off to right the second we finish this show. So I got to move a little bit quickly. Trump's press conference from hell. A person who keeps impersonating me, trying to steal my online identity. Insane. And we are going to rally as a movement of people to be victorious. Ooh, that was a good time for the music to end. Victorious over this impersonator, this fraud. Russell Brand is very adamantly trying to convince people he didn't become a Christian to deal with his allegations, to go, wait, I'm a different man now, so why are you even trying me for these criminal charges? But instead, because he authentically believes these things and more. Like I said, we don't have tons of time before getting into this first segment to chit-chat because we are pushed up right against our flight to New York City for a bombshell interview. I'll try not to give you much information on it because that's just the industry standard, right? In case it falls through or whatever. Don't want to spoil it. But I've been warning Benny Johnson that he made a big mistake being a fraud, being a grifter, and having some personal life secrets, and a source who was very close to him and who you definitely know, this is too many teasers, you know who I'm talking about, has agreed to do the expose on this channel. One that is not just about salaciousness or intrigue, but about actually holding accountable a genuinely fraudulent persona. And that is the MAGA influencer with 5 million subscribers, Benny Johnson, who does the most slop media you've ever seen in your life, who treats his employees like crap, who hides his own personal life secrets, who juices every ounce, every cent, I should say, of money out of an audience of people who don't know just how grifty he really is. And there's someone who knows a lot of those details that even I didn't know and has the receipts. And so I'm going to New York to do some journalism, get the deets, and we're going to be putting together a deep dive, a documentary expose on him and others within the right-wing space that I think is going to send major shockwaves through the political landscape. We'll see. I don't need to overpromise, but pretty big stuff even from our preliminary preparations. That's kind of a redundant phrase on our preparation during our preparations that I've learned, and so look out for that. That'll be a little bit later. We need time to actually gather all the information, interview everybody, and then put together a sort of documentary. But it's going to be big, so that's what we're going to New York for. But that means that we won't have today our Friday bonus show, Booze in the News. Let me say that again. For those, and I love that many of you absolutely love our new segment once a week where we go live for everyone for half an hour and then it switches over to just members only, and it's sort of a membership drive / we drink and talk about news and get really silly and goofy and buzzed, and that's been fun for the last couple of weeks. We'll start back next week, next Friday, but this weekend, of course, we're going to be on a plane when we'd normally be live for that. So no bonus show of any sort today, but we'll be back Monday with members only content. So click the join button. You can still do it and get all of the other bonus shows we've done and be ready for Monday. With that being said, let's get into this. We begin today with a truly out-of-control press conference from Trump in the Oval Office that ranged from him snapping at reporters, a hot mic moment when this press conference ended where I think you're hearing him talk about stuff coming out of his rear end, and he fell asleep. It's like this real roller coaster, and then a bunch in between. And I'm going to actually take a lot of time, piece by piece, to break down this press conference. So here is the ending of it.
Well, we added a couple of things. No men playing in women's sports. It's unrelated, but it's a popular thing. And no transgender mutilization of our children. So that's it. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, President.
Mutilization. So he talks about mutilization, which the term is mutilation, but then the press conference is abruptly ended, and then you hear this when he thought the cameras were off, and I don't know what's happening in this 5-second clip. Now, here's what I'm confused about. Was that bleeped out, or is that when the audio cut out? Because he goes, I need to have a shh, and then it goes bleep. It sounds like he's saying I could use a shit, which if he is, no one has ever said such a thing. Take a, yes. Use one? Hey, could I please use, could somebody hand me a poop? Trump says I could use a shh, feed cuts out. Okay, so that's how it ended. Now let's dive into the actual substance. You can see, as Aaron Rupar put it, that he's hitting rim during this press conference.
We continue our work on negotiating international trade agreements. 59 days after we stood in this office and President Trump, standing with Albert Bourla from Pfizer, announced the first of the 17 MFN deals, together with our colleagues from the Department of Commerce under Secretary Lutnick's leadership and from the U.S. Trade Representative.
So as you can see, struggling to stay awake, which you, I guess, could kind of understand given that now you have the Daily Beast tracking the gaps of time in the middle of the night whenever he's not posting. So you can say he stopped posting at this time and he started again at this time. But as all of us know, you don't fall asleep the second that you turn your phone off. The second you stop posting is not when you fall asleep. It takes a while to fall asleep after that. And you would think that you don't post something the second you wake up. So probably there's an on-ramping of the day, right? So if only 4 hours and 48 minutes were in between his last post of the day and his beginning post of the next day, then that means he's sleeping probably less than 4 hours. Which you might go, that's because he's working so... No, it's because he's watching TV and scrolling through Truth Social. But that's actually concerning. And you might go, oh, well, that's why he's sleepy during his press conferences. We don't want that in a president where he's so erratic and manic and disoriented and detached and obsessed with hearing people praise him on his own social media platform that he can't get himself to sleep more in a way that your brain requires to think rationally while he's leading us through a war. So when he wasn't struggling to stay awake at this press conference, he was very awake and upset. It was one or the other.
On the war with Iran, how long are you willing to wait until you get a unified response?
Don't rush me, Jeff. Guys like you want to say, so we were in Vietnam like for 18 years. We were in Iraq for many, many years. We're in for I don't like to say World War II because that was a biggie, but we were 4.5, almost 5 years in World War II. We were in the Korean War for 7 years. I've been doing this for 6 weeks.
So this is his new talking point that he thinks is compelling, and it's anything but compelling to remind people that other wars have been catastrophic, multi-year, tens of millions of death processes, and comparing that to what he's doing now, that doesn't compare. Meaning the justification. He cited some wars that there weren't justification for, but whenever he lists off a string of extended, in some cases, world wars, and says that's why it's fine that I'm starting a war I didn't need to. It's insane for about 12 reasons. Let me just pick two. The first is because he didn't have to start this. The second is that he didn't call this, he did call it a war, but they tried to justify it by saying it's just a military operation. Just a quick excursion, right? That was his term. He went from it's a quick excursion, whenever he misunderstood some A told him incursion, and then he said excursion, which two different meanings. But he used that term to mean quick, fun, to describe a war he was starting, but he didn't want to sound like that. And now he's going, hey, as long as this doesn't take as long as the Vietnam War, then I'm doing a good job. That could not be more infuriating to an American public that does not want this because it is not necessary. Someone else brings up the point. What do you say to Americans who are concerned about how long this is taking? And Trump snaps.
What do you say to the American people who question how much longer this will take? Obviously, you know that they are having higher...
You're such a disgrace. Did you hear what I just said? Vietnam. How many years was Vietnam?
I understand, sir, but
how many years was Vietnam? Well, I did my ad.
You were the one who was telling us this would be just a few weeks. You can't get mad at us for saying you said it was going to take a few weeks. And you're going to cite Vietnam? Your lesson from Vietnam is that people love... Wait, what? The lesson from Vietnam was that was a quagmire. And you're citing it to substantiate your argument? You're making our point. Now, are you ready to have your brain leak out of your ears? It's back to Trump doing math. a section of the show where he tries to understand percentages and fails every time. Here is him and Bobby. They team up to try to understand a little thing called numbers.
Amazing. It is amazing. And you're right. I took a lot of heat. I'd say 500, 600, 700. But we also say sometimes 50%, 60%, different kind of calculation. 70, 80, and 90%. And people understand that better.
No.
But there are two ways of calculating it. But either way, it doesn't make any difference. Whether it's 60, 70, or 80%, nobody's ever heard of it. But it's also 500, 600, 700, depending on the way you want to look at it. So the way you word the calculation. It's either one. But Bobby, you're doing a fantastic.
So it's this point he tries to make, and he's lying more broadly about his effect on prescription drugs, but he's trying to make a point that he's doing so great with prescription drugs that he's reducing the prices by 500, 600. He used to say 1,200, 1,300, 1,500%, which of course if you say what is more, and no, you're not watching this on 2 times speed, I'm just speaking really fast because we had to get to the airport. If you're saying, if you take 100% of the price of something, and you reduce it 100%, that's the whole price, and then you're $0. So then if it's more than that, then it would be $-, and then that would, if you follow the logic, mean you're getting paid to take the drug. But then he's surrounded by such booty kissers that they go, yeah, sure, that's exactly right. It's the Democrats who just don't understand the brilliance of your math. But if you ever find yourself saying we're reducing something by 50, 60%, and you could also see that as we're reducing it by 500, 600%, those are the same things, you know you've misled yourself mathematically because those are literally such different numbers. For something to leave your mouth, take all the context out of it, just for something to leave your mouth where you go, like you could say 5 or you could also say 500. It's like kind of sort of the same thing. That's almost never going to make any sense. I'm trying to think of a case where that would make sense at all. And I can't think of one. What he's trying to say is if you take the low price and had to increase it up back to a higher price, then you could get multiple hundreds of percentages in the increase. But decreasing, you can't go below 100% of something, obviously. But that doesn't change that the way you're wording it is just mathematically incorrect. And I'm not going to get past this. I won't. Especially when now RFK Jr. is thinking this is rational. So good job, Trump. You've convinced one person that your math makes any sense, and it's the guy who literally cut off a penis of a dead raccoon and studied it at home.
Was questioning me during a hearing, and she was ridiculing President Trump for his math. And she was saying, it's mathematically impossible to have a drug drop by 600% cost, which he had claimed. And I said, well, if the drug was $100 and it raised the price to $600, that would be a 600% rise.
That would be a 500% increase. You're not even getting those numbers correct.
Well, if it drops from 600 to 100, that's a 600% savings. And
no, the drop would be, what, like 80-something percent? No, you're still wrong. Just because you're flipping it, I know what they're trying to say, and they're still not saying it.
Doesn't use that mathematical device to illustrate the magnitude of the theft that has been happening against our...
Okay, but there is a difference between a percentage increase and a percentage decrease. Okay, whatever. You know what?
I started doing heroin. I went to the top of my class.
Yeah, I started doing heroin and I realized that Trump's math made sense. Oh, gosh. Okay. Then Trump claimed that the Virginia direct ballot initiative that allowed them to redistrict in response to Republican redistricting was election fraud. Oh, shocker. So he was asked about this and he says, and of course the reporter's like, there's no evidence of fraud. And we're going to go around this merry-go-round again where he says, yes, there is.
President, I emailed the Virginia Department of Elections earlier today and asked them if they had seen any evidence of election tampering, of fraudulent mail ballots being cast in the Tuesday election, or if there was any evidence of non-citizens voting in that election. Why did you say that that election was rigged?
Well, you have mail-in ballots, and they found a lot of them at the end of the day, all of a
They said that
sudden.
they have received no credible information related to
Well,
this.
I know you'd say that no matter what. You know, you've been saying that for years, and now they're finding out that the 2020 election was totally rigged.
Oh, now they're finding out? Oh, because you told us that the night of the election, but now they're finding out. Sure. Twitter. I don't even have to engage with that one. You know exactly what's going on there. There was news, and this is what he's going to be asked about next. Think about this. This is what's happening in an actual press conference in the actual Oval Office with the real president of the United States. That's the state of affairs here. And the world's so messed up that you have Kalshi and Polymarket, who apparently everyone's getting sponsored by now. Good for them. Sucks sometimes for me that I don't that I have a principle against accepting such sponsorships, but I believe in my principle. So we're now in a world where U.S. soldiers, which we love our troops, but not if they commit fraud like this, are a part of the operation to capture Maduro. And then one U.S. soldier bet on Polymarket on the capture of Maduro. Meaning, one of the things why this is even allowed, where you're letting people bet on world events, but it was like, is Maduro going to be captured by the U.S., arrested by the U.S. government? And if you're a part of the task force that's going in to capture him, that's insider trading, because you're going, well, I have it on good authority we're going to capture him because I'm a part of it, because I'm a part of whatever the military operation is. And that's what happened. So he's been indicted. The Department of Justice has reportedly arrested a special forces soldier for allegedly placing bets and cashing in on the capture of former Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. This is a part of what's so messed up about every event turning into an opportunity for betting, and then everyone's going to be addicted to betting on everything, and then people are going to get desperate, and then they're going to start betting on things that they have an effect over. Imagine, if you would, that me using the RFK Jr. impression was a Polymarket thing. Is Luke Beasley gonna, they get this ridiculous, is Luke Beasley gonna use his RFK Jr. impression on today's show? And then I see that that's a thing, and I tell Cole, hey, I'll use it, you go ahead and bet $10,000 and you can make $500,000 if I do it. And how could they actually prove that you knew what I was gonna do? And then I'm gonna go, I started taking heroin and I learned Trump's math. I do that, and then all of a sudden he makes money. It's just so messed up. And Trump was asked about it, and his answer left a lot for the longing.
Mr. President, apparently there was a special forces soldier who was involved in the capture of Venezuelan President Maduro, who was arrested by federal authorities today on suspicion of insider trading and betting on Polymarket. Are you concerned that federal employees are betting on these prediction markets and potentially getting rich?
Well, I don't know about it, but was he betting that they would get him or they wouldn't get him?
It sounds like he was betting on his removal from office, that Maduro would be removed.
Well,
it sounds like he was involved in the operation.
That's like Pete Rose betting on his own team. It's a little like Pete Rose. Pete Rose, they kept him out of the Hall of Fame because he bet on his own team. Now, if he bet against his team, that would be no good, but he bet on his own team. I'll look into it, yeah?
So Trump's thinking, well, as long as he bet for our team, then it's okay. No, it's not about the betting. It's about you knowing something's going to happen, so then you bet with the answer already predetermined. If he knew they were about to go in to capture Maduro, we're the United States. It's SEAL Team freaking 6. We're going to get him if we're going to get him. Right? So he has an answer to that question. So it's not betting, it's insider trading. That's what we try to avoid. But the reason, it's a lot easier to prevent that, even though it's not being prevented in the case of the Trump administration, with actual stock trading. It's harder to prevent that with world events, especially when right now our ability to regulate that is just so up in the air. And that's why a lot of people are sounding the alarm. Trump then talks about the difficulty that Spirit Airlines is currently having, in part exacerbated by the conditions in this war. And Trump goes, maybe the U.S. government will buy Spirit Airlines.
Are we going to buy a stake in Spirit Airlines?
So Spirit is an airline that's had some trouble. They were going to merge with People Express, or one of them, a number of years ago, and Barack Hussein Obama decided it was a bad idea. How did that work out? It's bad for both of them. That would have been a natural merger. Not United and American, but Spirit and the other. We're looking at helping them. We have 18,000 people that live in this country that are great people and great employees, and we're thinking about doing it, helping them out, and meaning bailing them out or buying it. I think we just buy it.
Did he say that they, a few years ago, were thinking about merging with People Express? People Express went out of business and ceased operations in 1987. A couple of years ago.
We'd be getting it virtually debt-free. They have some good aircraft, they have good assets, and when the price of oil goes down, we'll sell it for a profit. I'd love to be able to save those jobs. I'd love to be able to save an airline. I like having a lot of airlines, so it's competitive.
So I will only support the Spirit Airlines bailout if, when the U.S. government takes over, they increase by at least 600% the size of the tray tables. I'm pretty sure Spirit Airlines is the airline. Spirit Airlines tray tables that have little slits. Yeah, look at this. This is criminal. Look at this. This is criminal. Spirit Airlines, if we buy it, it needs to be stipulated that every one of these tray tables is replaced with a tray table that can actually fit a water bottle. Look at that thing. What do you even fit there? And they make it as slick as possible so that you spill whatever you put on there. It's just don't put a tray table. It's mocking us. They want to demoralize us. This is on purpose. The purpose is to make us question our own identity and thus our sexuality. You have a little tiny tray table and you think, I'm not a man. I'm not a man. I don't deserve to be with a woman. So you get off your Spirit Airlines flight in Orlando and you find the nearest gay club. And the next thing you know, you're in an orgy with a bunch of men. This is what they're doing to us with the tray tables. These are homoerotic tray tables.
Radicalized.
Truly just sick. Just sick. I know that it's for cheaper flights. I get that. So it's not going to be as nice of a plane. That's fine. I get it. But surely your business model doesn't depend on having 2-inch tray tables. Okay. Anywho. I should move on from that subject. Then you have him once again bringing up the pen. He was so genius with Sharpie.
That I say, I often talk about the pen. This pen's better than the one that they used to give away for $2,000. I won't go on a long story about that because a couple of people said, he kept talking about the pen. No, I gave you the whole history of it. Actually, many people found it interesting, and some people thought I was doing too much of a weave. But actually, it was but this pen, for $3, $5, $2, whatever the hell it costs, is better than the one for $1,000 to $2,000 that used to hand away. So
it's interesting that he sees the liberal coverage of him, but then he still does those things. Because you can hear what he referenced there. He knows that a bunch of the mainstream outlets reported on him spending, what was it, like multiple minutes just telling this long story about Sharpie, and Sharpie came out and was like, no, I don't think that was true. We didn't actually have a phone call with him, like he said. But he spent all of his time talking about it, and then he sees the coverage, but then he still can't help himself to be like, oh, look, this pen. Wow, I got cheaper pens for the White House, as he's wasting $1 billion a day on a war. I don't think the pens are going to save us from a debt problem. He brings up the MLK Jr. speech. I wonder what he thought about when he brings this up. Was it anything to do with the brilliance of that? It was about how Trump had the same crowd as MLK Jr.
1.5 to 2 feet deep. You all know it well. That's where Martin Luther King gave his great speech, and he had 1 million people, and I had the same exact crowd, maybe a little bit more, but they said I had 25,000 people on July 4th. I have pictures of Martin Luther King's crowd, my crowd. It's the exact same everything, but it was 70 years difference. The exact same crowd, but I actually had more people, but that's okay. They gave him 1 million people. They said 1 million.
Is he talking about his inauguration speech? Because his whole administration started with an obsession with that. So this was the MLK Jr. speech and the crowd size. You see it? Good. Now let's compare it to Trump's inauguration crowd. That's a lot of empty space. That's a big, big difference. So they didn't even fill up the white tarps that they put down. And then watch, I'll show you for inauguration via inauguration, Obama inauguration 2008 crowd. Let's see the comparison and see if you can pick up on any white tarps. Oh, nope. Completely full. Yeah, so Trump's still bitter about that. All right, so much more to talk about before we have to jet off. Candace Rose, thank you so much for becoming a member by clicking the join button. Sam B says, Dawn's math is like alternative facts. It really is. We got to talk about this before we get to our next story. If you'll put this up, Jaden. I'm sick and tired of it. We've gotten so many, and I appreciate all of you for this, emails, contact forms, comments, DMs, being like, Luke, is this your Facebook account? I keep seeing posts from it. Someone is probably impersonating you, because occasionally it'll be like, these Muslims need a blah, 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 and say some crazy stuff, and people are like, are you saying this, Luke? No, I'm not. This is not our account, but somehow by faking my identity, they've accumulated 10,000 followers. 10,000 followers. Look at this. Look at this. Post. And they'll post things all across. There's no even coherent politics to it. They'll just say crazy different things. Sometimes it's not crazy. Sometimes it is crazy. And what we're going to do as a community is, it looks like they changed. Was this the one that had my profile picture? But now they've changed it.
Yes, and for the better part of this past year, we've been reporting, emailing every single Meta account that's available for a creator support help. Nothing. Getting no help.
But if they changed it away from my profile photo, it used to be a photo of me. We're sure this is the same one. It used to be a photo of me, everybody, and that's why so many of you wrote in. It looks like they saw that feedback and changed it just to an American flag. Can we do anything now? Because that's just my name, but they could have the same name as me, I guess.
I think we still could, because they've posted some of your reels from your page too.
They have?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's see if we see... Oh, never mind. I'm sure. Look at this. Anywho. He said Trump is the creator of the MAGA movement. He's the creator. So they're posting my reels and they have my name. No, I'm done with it. Because what happens is people think this is our account. It has 10,000 followers and they think it's our Facebook account. And then they say stuff on my behalf that's not the stuff that I'm saying. So what I'm asking of all of you, because we've tried to report it, maybe if more of you report the account, we can get them to at least, they don't need to remove the account altogether, but stop pretending to be me and then saying stuff that people send me thinking I said something I didn't say. So what you can do, we linked in the description of this live stream, and let me just go through this and then we'll get to our next story. In the description of this live stream, we have the fake account that you're looking at here linked, and you can go to the 3 dots here, report profile, then click something about this profile, then click fake profile, and then say a celebrity or public figure is who they're pretending to be. And then you can paste in, and we have in the description our real Facebook URL. You can paste in our real Facebook URL. That's not it. But you have it in the description. And then you click next and you submit it. And if we get a few of y'all to do that, going to the profile, link to the description, clicking the things I just showed you, you can go back a few seconds and rewatch it if you're doing it, and then pasting in my real Facebook profile into this and then submitting that report, maybe we can get this Facebook account to at least change their name. Stop pretending to be me and posting my reels. Now, if any of you are watching this, all of their reels are me. Just know, posting clips of me is totally fine. I love it. And even if you want to do like Beasley fan or Beasley clips or things like that, and you post clips, that's totally okay. But as they tried to do for a long time, having your profile photo being my face and then pretending to be me and not identifying yourself as like a fan account or a supporter account and just portraying yourself as me, we will have an issue with that. Otherwise, post my content. We're not really sticklers about, hey, we should have gotten monetization for that. That doesn't matter. You can post clips. It spreads it further. That's all fine. But just don't pretend like you're me. Put in some form an identification that you're not me, but a supporter or a fan or an edit account or something like that. Otherwise, we will have a problem. So I wanted to bring that up and just let you all know, to the many people asking if that's our account. It's not. Our real account is linked in the description. Jaden made it very clear. This is the real account. So please do go follow on Facebook. By the way, in this space, there's so many platforms you're supposed to be on. So we're on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Substack, So make sure you're following all of those, and Twitter, X, as they call it. Quickly, one more comment, then we'll jump back in. David said, at Luca Beasley, Dean Withers has experienced the same for months, never got fixed. It's really annoying. It really is annoying. All right, here we go. Yesterday, I told you about Russell Brand admitting that he had sex with a 16-year-old. Now, his defense was that happened in the UK, where the age of consent is 16, but he admitted to being 30. This as he's currently in an ongoing or the preparation for a trial for rape charges involving a 16-year-old. And he's been accused by, I guess, the 16-year-old he's admitting that he had sexual relations with of sexual assault. And so even if there weren't the sexual assault allegations, just the 30-year-old, he was 30 at the time, having sexual contact, I really don't care if it was technically legal in the UK, is disgusting and creepy and exploitative. And then when you hear what the 16-year-old said about him, it's even more. But he was confronted over this by Piers Morgan, which is why we're talking about it again today. And so I'm going to show you that clip where Piers Morgan calls out. And this part I've been wanting someone to bring up to him. You seem to do this whole, I'm a big Christian, I'm different now, arc right after these charges or the news of the allegations came out against you. Is there any connection there? But first, here's the clip that spread around the internet yesterday from his interview on Megyn Kelly's show.
In Europe and in the United Kingdom where I'm from, the age of consent is 16, and I did sleep with a 16-year-old when I was 30. But when I was 30, I was a very different person. I was a lot younger, and I was an immature 30-year-old. Consensual sex, actually, with a variety of people, when there is a strong power differential, as there is when you're a famous man that has the ability to attract women that I had at that time.
So he's a 30-year-old sleeping with a sophomore, to put it in American terms, sophomore in high school. 30-year-old, sophomore in high school. The lower age of consent in the UK does not change to me how shameful that is. Because we all understand the state of your brain development at 16 versus 30. And then you had a community note saying the then 16-year-old schoolgirl accuses Brand of sexual assault, forced his penis down her throat and made her choke, only stopping after she punched him in the stomach. She says he groomed her, called her the child, was emotionally abusive and controlling. And you can see a bunch of different reports about this. So it's damning that he admitted to this when she has these allegations against him. Very, very shocking stuff. And then Piers Morgan, this is the trailer for an interview that's coming out, but I think it already tells a lot of the story. And then if there's more substance that I want to get into in the extended interview, we'll talk about that later. But this breaks down a lot of what happened in the upcoming interview where Piers Morgan confronted him over what he's now doing, which is, look, I'm a different guy. I'm a Christian. I'm selling a book, How to Become a Christian in 7 Days. And as someone who has watched a lot of true crime or listened to a lot of true crime podcasts, it is like 50% of the time, if not more, that a killer, now he's not a killer, but I'm saying a killer in these real stories, gets arrested for killing a person or multiple people. And then while they're in jail before their trial, surprisingly, by complete happenstance, says they found God. And now they have a deep relationship with Jesus, and they're a changed man. It's strange that somehow, always in between being arrested for a crime and going to trial, so many people find Jesus. Oh, maybe it's a performance. Maybe that's why. Let's see.
Let's come to this. Save your best lines.
Look, I know we're both English, but do you mind if I pray?
Sure.
Before?
Sure.
Oh, God, help us have a...
I don't know where the truth lies. You're going to basically go through a process which could end up with you going to prison for a long period of time.
I did sleep with a 16-year-old when I was 30.
Here in New York, it would have been a crime.
We are going to find out the truth, and if the truth is I am going to prison, my job will be, do not be afraid of that truth.
This Bible, actually, I think it was this one you took into court. What were the relevant passages for you?
Correct. Thank you for asking me.
This is the first interview you've done with any Brit since the allegations. You are slightly hypersensitive to anyone challenging you, because most of the media you do, you don't really get challenged.
Excuse me. Amidst the rape allegations, the Shagger of the Year titles do not seem quite as valuable. Some of the shines come off.
You only became a Christian 7 months after the allegations were made public. You've worked out that this could give you some kind of cover. You know there are people who think you're basically just a massive grifter.
No, that's what they say about you, actually. Here's
good.
Calm down and slow down.
It's a serious question.
I want you to calm down and slow down.
This sense that you were somehow singled out, targeted deliberately. A lot of people think that's honestly bullshit.
I can't actually find the verse that I had that day.
You were an atheist.
And what are you going to be next?
Well, yes.
Muslim?
That's what some
a Jew?
people...
A Scientologist?
That's what some people think.
Hitler. What do you think about Hitler?
Okay, so a couple key points there. Again, that's just a trailer. We'll see what comes out later. But it tells the story already to me. And that's the points that I want to highlight for you, which is credit to Piers for bringing up that people do call into question the validity or authenticity of this whole I'm a changed man thing. And what have you changed from? I'm so annoyed, and Russell Brand's the OG of this, which is I didn't do the criminal things, but man, I did evil things, and I've changed from that. So don't judge me for the things they say I did, but definitely give me credit for changing from the terrible person that I was, and that terrible person didn't do the bad things that they're saying that I did, but other bad things that aren't criminal. And that always is perfect for these. They're trying to perfectly piece that together, where I need to have a beautiful redemption story where I was evil and sinister and hurtful, but I don't actually want to go to jail for it. So let me walk the line of give me that applause for changing from being bad, but don't characterize me as bad enough back then to do the things that I actually have to be held accountable for criminally. We saw a similar thing with Swalwell coming out and being like, I really apologize to my wife for all the terrible things I did, but it wasn't the criminal allegations. A little bit too convenient. And Russell Brand turned after he was sort of a actor and comedian, I guess he gets described, into a MAGA influencer. Then these allegations come out and he leans hard into his I'm a redeemed Christian. But guess what? However redeemed you feel you are, the law still has to hold you accountable. And while he's not admitting to the criminal violations, I think you can hear in some of his explanations, my belief is, allegedly, he did the things he's being accused of, and he knows it. He knows he did to this girl at the time what he did, but he just doesn't want to have to actually be punished for it. And so he's admitting to pieces of it to seem like I'm being authentic, but not the full story. And even the piece he admitted to is disgusting. And if he were in, I don't know in every single state what the ages are, but regardless, if he were in many states in the United States, he would have to go to jail for statutory rape here. So you're trying to build a career here. How about you get the punishment that's appropriate here? And then on the theory that all of the different defenders of his in right-wing media ran with, which is such a cop-out, which is they must be trying to take him down because he was exposing all the deep state lies. And it's like, really? Russell Brand? Russell Brand? Who's threatened by him? He's not exposing anything. He's going with the same right-wing Twitter talking points that like 40 different popular influencers are regurgitating, and he makes videos out of them. There's no bombshell revelation he's exposing. He's not about to leak the thing that will take down the habba. He's just another run-of-the-mill MAGA, slightly conspiratorial, very conspiratorial influencer. That's it. The idea that all these women would try to come forward and there would be a coordinated effort with British press to take him down so he doesn't reveal blank is just completely silly. But he thinks if this can be his imagery, it will help him, is my speculation.
It's hard to cut through the false veneers of who you've become in this world. Maybe it's dark, maybe you've been bubble wrapped in disingenuity. But if you are willing to go deep, you may discover your true identity in him. They say don't judge a book by its cover, but I actually am quite pleased with this cover. Jared, have you seen this yet, mate? How to become Christian, how to become a Christian in 7 days. When the Lord came to me, I felt like what I'm calling now kinetic psychedelia. I felt like something going in my guts. It was the cross of the Lord. Read that thing that C.S. Lewis says, like, before the world was formed, he knew about the scars on his back, the flies on his back, as he was pressed, as the wounds on his back.
So this is not to criticize very real and beautiful revelations that plenty of Christians have, and motivations for a better life and connections with their belief in God. All of that can be beautiful, beautiful, beautiful for people's lives. And there can also be negative revelations people have through their religious beliefs, of course. But this is calling out a very old cycle we've seen. Someone, even not celebrities, like I was telling you before, serial killers will get caught. Then before they go to trial, they will have created a whole story about how everything changed. And in jail, they found Jesus. And so, do you really need to punish me now? Because, like, I already sort of fixed the stuff that you would want to fix anyways. It's just such an old strategy. And, well, remember, this was his original denial.
Context. Me, I've always told you guys that when I was young and single, before I had my wife and family, who were just out of shot over there, my beautiful children, I was a fool, man. I was a fool before I lived in the light of the Lord. I was a drug addict, a sex addict, and an imbecile. But what I never was a rapist. I've never engaged in non-consensual activity. I pray that you can see that by looking in my eyes. I want to thank all of you for your continuing support. I want to let you know that our show will be on Rumble.
Oh my gosh, Rumble. Follow me on Rumble. What a weird... I've never taken note of that, I don't think. We've watched that video a lot of times. What a weird thing to end a quote-unquote my response video to rape allegations. I did not do those. Find me on Rumble, by the way. We do our show Monday through Friday. And don't forget to get the skin cream at brandshop.com. Like, what the heck is that ending to a here's my denial of being a rapist allegations? Ugh. Okay, let's see. Quickly, you have Giovanni Courtney saying Pentagon wants to review UK sovereignty to the Falklands because UK would not follow US to Iran war and Spain removed from NATO for criticism of war. I am sure we're going to have all sorts of punishings that the Trump government's going to try to do to any of our allies who, for very understandable reason, didn't follow us into a war that we didn't ask them to get into. You don't go to a war and then just assume they're going to follow you before you're supposed to consult beforehand. But that's not what happened. All right. You might think our allies don't want to help us with the war. Americans generally don't want this war. But we got to be fair and check in on someone who very much does want us to be in this war. Lindsey Graham, now a couple years ago, very famously was literally in tears as the production of an interview went horribly wrong and the crowd was yelling at him and Sean Hannity was struggling to talk to him and Lindsey was begging for money for Trump. Well, he's done it again, which is one of these awkward interviews where he tries to get you all riled up about the war, and as you can see, his soul has completely left his body. He says, and also, I think I might lose my election, give me some donations. And it's always so pitiful, the life that he has chosen for himself. Here's the flashback, and then we'll look at the latest example. It feels like it's always Sean Hannity's show. Why is Hannity the only person who wants to hear from this Lindsey figure? And Hannity never even asked him once about the pink bubble wand. So is he really a journalist? I don't know.
Calls a unreliable dirtbag. So what's behind all this? Hatred. They tried to destroy Kavanaugh because they wanted to keep the Supreme Court seat open. They're trying to destroy Donald Trump because they fear him at the ballot box. To the conservatives out there, make sure you vote If you got friends, make sure they vote. If you don't have any friends, go make some friends. But you need to help this man, Donald.
Whoever says that, hey, get your friends to vote, is what everyone says. But of course, Lindsey's like, and if you're like me and your only friend is your aunt. I'm trying to think of a really good, if your only friend's your Aunt Beatrice, then bring her along and make some friends. Go down to the Pookie. I can't think of a funny Lindsey Graham sounding bar, but who knows?
J. Trump. They're trying to drain him dry. He spent more money on lawyers than most people spend on campaigns. They're trying to bleed him dry. DonaldJTrump.com. Go tonight. Give the president some money to fight this bullshit. This is going to destroy America. We're going to fight back at the ballot box. We're not going to give in. How does this end, Sean? Trump wins in court and he wins the election. That's how this ends.
Time. And how do you get to 34 counts on this in your view?
Oh, it's so good. Oh, look at that face right there. That's how this ends. Damn it, my Aunt Beatrice distracted me. She heard me say drain them dry and thought I was making a sex reference. No, sorry. I'm kind of just ripping off Seth Meyers' I know, Meemaw joke. He always does that with Lindsey Graham, so I do want to give him credit. And then, of course, more recently,
I want sanctuary city policy to end.
Yeah. So then we get to last night, where he has probably been told that he's been coming off a little drunk on air. So he really tries to speak purposefully and intentionally to not stumble over his words. And he has a nice haircut.
What we've done to their economy through economic fury is pretty much destroyed. You know, if they run out of storage space for oil, they have to shut the wells down. And when you shut them down, it's hard to start them up. Without oil and gas revenue, they're out of business. They don't have any money for terrorism. They don't have any capability to build a nuclear weapon. They can't pay their own soldiers. They can't pay their own police. It's just a matter of time for people in the country rise up again, I think. The economic conditions in Iran are very dire, and they're getting worse. This is a brilliant move by President Trump. The blockade is working, and it's going bigger, and it's going to go global. Back here.
The blockade is going to go global? What does that even mean? It's going to go... This isn't a Taylor Swift album. It's going to go platinum. It's going to get on the top of the charts. Why, would we want the blockade to go global? I don't think so.
And it's going bigger, and it's going to go global. Back here at home, we got to fight, folks. I hope people understand we'll be in an election here soon. Last night, we set in motion the ability to fund the Border Patrol and ICE. Democrats wouldn't give us a dime to pay the Border Patrol or ICE, and we're going to give $70 billion, fully fund the Border Patrol and ICE for the rest of President Trump's term to make sure that we're safe. But Democrats are just going nuts when it comes to immigration and the border. Big deal last night. Republicans set in motion giving DHS, ICE, and the Border Patrol all the money they need to do their job. We're in a fight for the heart and soul of this country. I'm in a fight. I need your help. I hate to say this, but I've been outraised twice by Democrats. Please go to LindseyGraham.com and help me if you can. I've been with President Trump at every step. I was chairman of the Judiciary Committee when we did Kavanaugh. You remember that. I've been there with him. I think he's been a great president. He makes us safer. He makes us more prosperous. The Democrats have money. I don't know where they're getting all this money, but I need your help. LindseyGraham.com. Please help me if you can, and help my teammates. When my primary is over, I'm going to help the whole team. But we're going to get this war right. Structurally, Iran has been decimated.
This is so weird. Why is he... I think he saw the feedback of him being like, we gotta go to Cuba. It's kind of his more aggressive, so then they told him to calm down. And if you're less jacked up, maybe you won't kind of trip over your words as much. So he's talking a lot more calmly. Go to LindseyGraham.com. Wait. It sounds like he's doing the voice of, who's that actress who always does the voiceover for those dog ads? It's a famous whatever. They never know. They never help me. For 20, you're bothering me. No, tell me, who does the voiceover for sad dog ad? Y'all are gonna go, oh, of course, Sarah McLachlan. Y'all know. But that's his voice. Go to lindseygraham.com. Do you know how in the arms of an angel? Can you sing that, Cole, for me? Can you go to lindseygraham.com if you want to make this sad? I've spent many days in a cage. Play it again, please. The hours that I've spent on a leash. The hours that I've spent tied up, whimpering, in a cage, saying, I am your little puppy. In the arms of the angel. For just $5 a month, you can make this sad Lindsey a little bit happier. I've spent months on a leash. It really does feel like that. Go to lindseygraham.com. Actually, what you should do instead, Annie Andrews, is go to Annie Andrews' website, who is the Challenger campaign. I want to find this campaign website. Dr. Annie Andrews. The site is DrAnnieAndrews.com. Go to DrAnnieAndrews.com, not LindseyGraham.com. Okay, Lindsey? Sorry, but she doesn't come off like a sad puppy. So I'm a little bit more confident in her abilities to be a senator. Okay, that is the show. Jared Frank, member for 24 months, said, am I the first member with this color? I've got 150 characters to fill up. Go to Criff Dogs or McSorley's if you're near the East Village when in NYC. Okay, Criff Dogs or McSorley's. Good advice. Thank you. I mean, you're probably the first one with that badge color, because you're the longest member, and that is pretty dang awesome. All right, Toshi said, thank you for being you. My name is pronounced Toshi. Always make me smile while watching you. Thank you, three of you guys, and Kayla. Thank you so much. We try to have a good time despite all this. Bobby Slacks, member for 10 months, said, love you, Luke, Jade, and Clean Beautiful Cole. Love and miss beautiful Kayla, but so happy to have Jaden back. Yes, next week, I think on Monday, we'll have Kayla join us, and she'll be kind of here and there throughout the week from now on, which should be cool. I appreciate all of you. We need to make a flight, and that is today's show. Much love. I'll talk to you Monday.